I thought I'd show you guys that you can use multiple drawing media together. Now, the way you use them is they won't totally blend together. A lot of times they'll just sit on top of each other, or they could be scratched out from one another. So I'm going back and forth between Prismacolor color pencils, Polychromos color pencils, Nupastels, and oil pastels. And I really don't have a method as far as anything solid. I'm really going back and forth, and whatever I can get as far as chroma, I'll use that. Whatever I can get as far as value, I'll use that. So you'll see me going back and forth and back and forth and layering and blending. And I'm working on top of watercolor paper, which the tooth is a bit wide. It's thick. It's not super expensive watercolor paper. It's cheaper watercolor paper. But because I did a wash, I used Gamma Saw to thin down some oil pastel and then dip the brush over it to give myself that wash underneath. I wanted to use a thicker paper as opposed to the thinner drawing paper. What I did notice that is certain parts can be covered easier, or certain media covers easier over than others. I was really surprised that Nupastel and the oil pastels didn't take to each other because they're oil. One is chalk and one is oil, but the pigmentation was so high and the coverage was so good that you can really go back and forth on top of these. You'll see me using a pen nib, which is used for pen and ink drawing, which you dip your pen in the ink and use it as a drawing tool. And I've found for several different techniques of making art that this is a great tool to scratch things out of. So anytime I'm doing something that allows me to scratch a layer out, that's my go-to instrument for that. On the left-hand side, I made a mistake on the proportions where the pink on the left, kind of sitting in the middle, was a little too low. And so it didn't match the source image. So I'm kind of measuring, kind of see where did I get lost a little bit. I could have taken some Gamma Saw and pulled it out and erased it. But I felt like since this is a flower and it's very forgiving, that this is a good way to show how to make a mistake and roll with it. And as an artist, you can make these adjustments. And nobody's really looking at your source image. And because it's organic, then you can kind of force it to do what you want it to do. So yes, you can use oil pastel, Nupastels, Polychromos, and Prismacolor to create one single work of art.